That old ceiling fan sitting in your garage, the one you pulled down during a remodel and never threw out, might be worth more spinning outside than it ever was spinning indoors. Swap a few parts, mount it on a pole, and that same motor can turn ordinary wind into real electricity, enough to keep a battery bank charged, lights running, and small electronics powered. Every single day the air moves, day or night, rain or shine. And the part that surprises people most, this isn't some fringe experiment. It's the same basic principle sitting inside a $5,000 commercial wind turbine, just built at yard sale scale. Here's the problem most people run into when they think about backup power. Solar looks like the obvious answer, and it is a good one, but it isn't the whole story. A modest rooftop system with battery storage can run you anywhere from $20,000 to almost $40,000 once you add panels, inverter, racking, permits, and a lithium battery bank. And even after that spend, panels quietly lose a bit of output every year. Batteries fade faster than most people expect, and the whole system produces the least power exactly when you need it most. Short gray winter days, ice storms, the weeks when the sun barely clears the horizon. Wind doesn't work on the same schedule. In a lot of the country, wind resources actually peak in late fall and winter, right when solar is weakest. That's not a reason to skip solar, it's a reason to notice that the two fill in each other's gaps. And one of them can be built for the cost of a fast food meal. That's where a scrapped ceiling fan motor comes in. Not every motor works, and this is the part almost nobody explains clearly. Ceiling fans use one of two motor types. Induction motors need outside electricity to build their magnetic field, so spinning them by hand produces little or nothing. Skip those. Permanent magnet motors are different. They have fixed magnets built into the rotor, so when wind spins the shaft, those magnets sweep past copper windings and generate alternating current on their own, no external power needed. You can tell the difference with your fingers before you even buy it. Spin the shaft, and if you feel distinct little bumps of resistance, that's the magnets catching the stator teeth, a good sign. If it spins glass smooth, walk away. The physics behind this isn't new or mysterious. Michael Faraday worked out in 1831 that moving a magnetic field near a conductor generates current, and that single idea is the foundation of every generator built since, from hydroelectric dams to bicycle dynamos to the turbine in your ceiling fan. People have been harnessing wind this way for well over a century. A Glasgow professor named James Blyth built a cloth-sailed turbine back in 1887 to light his own cottage, and as the story is usually told, when he offered the extra electricity to his neighbors, they wanted nothing to do with it. A year later, Charles Brush built a much larger wind dynamo in Cleveland that kept his mansion's lights running for years. By the 1930s and 40s, a Minneapolis company called Jacobs Wind Electric had sold thousands of small turbines to farms across the plains, powering lights, radios, and water pumps long before those areas had grid access. Those turbines didn't disappear because they stopped working. Some ran for decades on their original bearings. They faded out because federally subsidized transmission lines eventually brought cheap grid power to the same farms. And once the wires were up, nobody kept maintaining backyard turbines. That's simple economics, not a secret. A stock permanent magnet fan motor typically produces around 8 to 12 volts at normal spinning speed, a bit short of the roughly 14 volts needed to charge a 12-V battery. Builders like Dan Bartman and Dan Fink, who documented this style of conversion in their book Homebrew Wind Power, showed two fixes: swap in stronger neodymium magnets or rewind the stator with thinner wire for more turns, which trades a little current capacity for more voltage per revolution. Either approach, paired with a simple 4-diode bridge rectifier to convert the AC to DC, gets you comfortably into charging range in a moderate breeze. Small engineering programs and backyard hobbyists alike have tested converted fan motors like this and logged real, sustained output in the tens of watts, enough to run LED lighting, charge phones and laptops, keep a 12V radio going, and handle small intermittent loads through a basic inverter. It's not house power, and it was never meant to be. But at a parts cost of $30 to $50 scavenging what you can, or under $100 buying everything new, the return per dollar spent dwarfs a comparable solar setup. Part of why this stays a hobbyist project instead of a retail product comes down to certification, not physics. Tax credits and utility net metering programs require UL-listed equipment and grid interconnection standards that a homemade turbine simply can't meet. There's no manufacturer filing paperwork or installer collecting a fee. That doesn't make it illegal. It just means the incentive system was built around commercial products, not garage builds. So this kind of project stays invisible to it by design of the market, not by conspiracy. If you want to build one, the parts list is short. A permanent magnet fan motor, 3 blades cut from Schedule 40 PVC pipe, shaped with a jigsaw, a steel floor flange as a hub, a plywood tail vane to keep it facing the wind, a length of pipe for a tower set in a concrete footing, guy wires, a bridge rectifier, a PWM charge controller, and outdoor-rated copper wire to the battery bank. If you can drill, cut PVC, strip wire, and turn a wrench, you have every skill this requires. The one step that actually takes patience is balancing the blades, weigh each one, shave material until they're within a few grams of each other, and set the pitch around 10 to 15 degrees, or you'll get vibration and premature bearing wear. Now the honest limitations, because a project like this deserves them. This will not run your refrigerator or your well pump. It's built for lights, small electronics, and modest loads. It needs real wind resource to be worth building. Check your area's average wind speed before you spend anything. Flat open ground beats trees and tight suburban lots. Never mounted on a roof, turbulence there kills efficiency and stresses the blades. Expect to replace bearings every few years for a few dollars, and PVC blades every several years as UV exposure makes them brittle. None of that erases the core appeal. A project built almost entirely from scrap and hardware store parts that keeps producing power long after the upfront cost is forgotten. The technology here isn't rare or complicated, it's just old, patient, and easy to overlook sitting in a box in your garage. Sometimes the most useful thing you can build isn't the newest thing on the market, it's the thing everyone else already threw away. That's the kind of fix Hidden Fix Lab exists to find.